So you've gone out and bought yourself a digital SLR camera? Coming up, ways to be creative. Hi guys, welcome to my channel, Richard Hewitt Photography Film. So you've gone and bought that camera. Today, I'm going to be showing you the best ways to get the most out of it. First thing to check, when you look through the viewfinder and you press the shutter button and it's focusing and it's focused on the point you want, does it look out of focus to you? Does the lettering inside, the numbers inside, do they look slightly out of focus? If they do, it's not you, it's the diopter needs adjusting. The diopter is a dial next to the eyepiece on the camera. To adjust this, turn it one way all the way as far as it'll go, and then slowly turn it back while looking through the viewfinder, and you will see the numbers and all the information in the viewfinder come into focus. We now need to check that the setting is right on the lens. On the outside of the lens, there's a switch where you can switch from manual focus to autofocus. You need to make sure the switch is in the AF mode. The next setting I want to talk about is resolution. Now, before I start, my camera of choice is Canon. I use Canon systems. I've used Canon systems all my working life. There are other systems out there. There's Nikon, there's Fuji, there's Sony, there's Olympus, many different camera manufacturers. But today, what I'm going to talk about, all the settings that I change on this Canon camera will be available somewhere in your camera system if it isn't a Canon. It might be called slightly something different. It might be in a different place within the camera settings. All the basic settings where I'm going through today will be in your camera. So coming back to the first setting, resolution. To set the resolution on the Canon system, you press the menu button. This then activates the menu, and within the menu you have a whole row of different icons. The icon we want is a red camera icon, and the red camera icon, you then select that, and then it takes you down to a list of different settings within that camera icon. The first one we want to change is the quality. So we click set on the quality, and you have a whole list of submenus within that of the different resolution settings you can set your camera to. What we want is to set the resolution on its highest possible setting. In this scenario, on this camera, it's denoted by an L for large JPEG, and it's depicted by numbers. So you want the highest numbers, and you want it on set on L. Also, you might have in brackets next to those numbers the amount of pictures you can take on that setting. Once that's done, press the set button and exit out of the menu. Now we're getting to the main bits of this video, and it's all about turning the dial off auto and using the program mode. Now, just to talk a little bit about auto. Auto is basically point and shoot mode. The camera will do all the settings for you. It works out the exposure, it works out the focus point, it works out the type of focusing needed. It is basically, like it says, point and shoot. So what we want to do, we want to take it off auto and we want to put it onto P for program, which will then give us the ability to change some of the settings. And one of the first settings I would suggest you change is the focus point. The focus point the camera selects when you press the shutter button halfway down. In auto mode, it selects its nearest point to focus on. So it might pick up a high contrast area, it might pick something up that's slightly in front of main area that you want to take a picture of. It's not very accurate. It picks its first point. When you're in program mode or other modes, you can change your focus point. And I would suggest your first starting point is to change it to the center focus point. Now on the Canon cameras, to do this, there's a button on the right hand side which is denoted by a square, and it's got little dots in it. When we press and hold that in and look through the viewfinder, it activates all the focusing points on the focusing screen. These are superimposed LEDs. What we need to do is keep our finger on the thumb, keep our thumb on the button, and turn the input dial, which is next to the shutter release, until we have the center point activated. That is now set, and we're ready to go. To give you an example of why it's good to have a center point for our focusing area, our focusing point. If you've got an image, or you're taking a picture, and your subject is slightly off center, but you want him or her or whatever the subject is to be in focus, more in focus, you need to then focus on that point, reframe your camera and take the shot. To do that, all digital cameras are equipped with a two-stage shutter release button. The first stage activates the meter and focusing point, and the second stage activates the shutter. So in our scenario, if we're looking through the viewfinder and we focus on the point we want, we keep our finger pressed halfway down, reframe our camera, look through, and then take the shot. This gives us more ability to be creative. The next stage I want to talk about is the ISO. In auto mode, it sets it on what it thinks you're trying to achieve, or what it thinks is right for the camera at the time. ISO is basically the calibration of the camera sensor with regards to what light it sees. Now I'm going to talk about this in future episodes when we talk more about exposure settings and how we do this and how we change exposure settings. But for today, I'll give you the basics of what ISO is. If you set an ISO as a high number, you're basically setting the sensor in the camera to say there isn't much light available. So you're making the sensor more sensitive to very little light. If you're setting it down on a lower setting, a lower ISO number, you're basically telling the sensor there's quite a lot of light available, and you're making the sensor less sensitive. The downside to setting high ISO on a digital camera is this creates noise. Noise is the equivalent to grain when we used to use film. So if you remember when you used to have old pictures from film and they appeared grainy, that was because there wasn't enough light and it was pushing the emulsion of the film too far. The same is for digital, but our grain is noise. Noise is bad. You ask any photographer, and any photographer will say, try and shoot at your lowest possible ISO to get the best quality image that you require. One final point before we go out and try out what we've learned today is the way to hold your camera. Now, as a starting point, you need to be able to take the picture with a stable platform if you haven't got a tripod to hand. So the best way to do this is, digital cameras are built with an inbuilt grip. The right hand can form around the grip and your index finger can rest over the shutter release button. Your left hand should go under the lens with your thumb and index finger on your left hand able to turn the zoom lens barrel. Your palm of your hand is like a cradle where the camera sits on. But the two combined, you have a stable platform. Not like this, where your arms, you are not holding the camera steady, but like this, it's firm and it's stable. The next stage, you want to make sure your elbows are tucked in when you're about to take a picture. Again, this helps with stability. So if you liked what you've seen today, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell for the notifications of my upcoming videos. Thank you for watching. Take care, and I hope to see you at the next one.